Alright, so today's video is something a little bit different. Still working on the bike. I'm still waiting on a few parts just so I can wrap up my nitro system install. In the meantime, I don't want to lose my ability to perform well when I'm at the track, specifically when things does not go as planned and I need to change gearing at the track. So why is that this important for me? It's important because I've been in situations where track is so full that in sometimes I just get maybe one, maybe four passes. Let's say that they open up at 7 at night and they go all the way through like 11, and maybe that happens twice a month. So if that's the case, that's a lot of time of waiting between different passes. And if you make a good pass, but you know that maybe your gearing was not the best for the day, or maybe you feel like you have a better handling if you were to put a higher number of teeth in your rear sprocket or whatever, I can always use that to my benefit, and I can just have multiple sprockets at the track, and I can just swap them fairly quickly. So what I'm trying to do today is to make sure that I still have it, and I still got it, and I can still swap out my rear sprocket with everything done, just ready to go back to the line in less than 20 minutes. So if I can do that, if not, it's not a race, and you want to do things in the proper way, but this is a good exercise just so you know how the parts that you need, you have the information that you need in order to make it, and make sure that you have enough practice so you can make it happen when it's needed. So what I'll do is I'll put my phone on the side with a stopwatch so you can see the time. And again, this is not a race, something just for fun. But at the same time, this is a good practice for those days where I need to make the best out of the money you're spending on the track just to test. And you can spend the time by just I guess you can make good use of your time by making sure that you are being efficient working on the bike, and you're not going to miss your opportunity to make as much as passes as possible with the best setup that you can have handy. So let's just get started. All right, so to ensure that I have everything that I need in order to make possible my change, I have to make sure that I have my handle so I can remove my rear sprocket nut, and I also have my torque wrench handy, and I also have my 12 and my 10 so I can do my adjustments on my adjustment blocks. And then I have always a ratchet with me, and maybe my 14 just so I can remove my sprocket. So as you may already know, what you're gonna do is just to remove this, you remove the axle, and I guess you'll see the process. Then I'll remove the sprocket from the carrier, I put the bolts back, and then I make sure that I torque them to spec, and I put the wheel back. So the hardest part in here is just to deal with the correct alignment on the rear disc with your caliper. That's what gets tricky. And in order, there's a few, I think maybe Pitbull, they do an actual rear stand that you have a wedge where you can push so you can lift your tire. So in order for, I don't have it, but I do have a jack for my cart, so, or a floor jack. So what I do is I'll use that to my benefit, and I put it underneath it just so I can get the right amount of height. So it makes it easier just to align my rear brake with the caliper, which is the hardest thing to do when you're in a pinch. So so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that, and I'm also gonna get an additional tool, which is potentially maybe, I don't know, maybe something small like this. This is exactly what I was looking for, and I can use this picker just so I can put it in between the pads. And what this is gonna do is just to keep the spacing in the pad, just so when I'm bringing up the rear rotor, I can just like bring it up, and they're just not gonna start binding or maybe just trying to close them up instead of just stay open. So I just do this, and then that just keeps the spacing. I mean, it's frustrating sometimes, and it's hard to make it happen, but it's possible. But this is exactly the point. I'll just try to work it out and make sure that I can do as much as possible, just so I know that this is something that I'm building my confidence to do it at the track when time is running and the next pass is coming up, and you're expecting the call for your next team, next group to go on or whatever. So that's the whole purpose of it. All right, so I'm done. You can see there's always a struggle. I'll show you guys the other side. It is done. By looking at the video and watching the video, you can see a few things that you can do differently. I actually had a couple of things, such as I was not ready with my second sprocket, which if I had handy, well, let me, before I say that, so this is 15 minutes. So I probably did, I don't know what, maybe 15, 30. So a couple of things that I want to mention is, look at the video, use it as an opportunity to see what can you do differently when you're doing this process. In my case, once I didn't have the other sprocket ready, so that I lost time on that. Then I was using a half-inch drive ratchet, and then I was using 3/8 nut, so I needed a converter, so I didn't have it handy, so I had to stop to look for it. So those are 30, 40, a couple minutes, seconds, depending on how long it takes you to get the stuff you need. And then the biggest struggle, which is the reason why I'm sweating so much right now, is the bearings. Not the bearings, but the spacers. Like, those spacers are crazy. There's some companies that they do actual spacers that they stay in, so you don't have to. They're never gonna come out, and that's why Alaman and these other races, when they have pit stops, they actually they do change it so quickly, because they just like pull the chain, wheel in, wheel out, and you're good. Or some of the things you can do to even make it better is actually to buy another carrier. I can go to eBay right now, buy a carrier, and I can have all my sprockets already installed in a carrier, so I can just easily just pull the carrier out, put the other carrier in, and then my wheel will go in. So that will avoid me to have to loosen up the sprocket nuts and then having to retighten. They're already torqued to spec, so I don't have to worry about that. So that's something that can shave, I don't know, maybe, I want to say maybe 3 minutes. So that means that maybe if I can do this correctly, in 10 minutes or maybe 10 to 12 minutes, you can already have a sprocket already changed and the wheel up, and you're ready to go. So there's no concerns with being able to time it correctly, just so you can get a good amount, a good like possibility of being able to make changes at the track without missing your next pass, or maybe your qualifier, or whatever. Or even when you're moving up from qualifier to the actual race, you can be doing changes like this. And so that was the whole thing. I'm just gonna pick up the camera now, and I'm just gonna show you. I mean, it's hard. So, wheels completely installed. This is a 1-2 different change between the previous one that I had. This one is more aggressive than the one I had, although the one I had was lighter. Yeah, that's the whole idea. This is not perfect. I am not intending to show a perfect scenario or a perfect process. I just want to show people that it's possible. And sometimes you can just make sure that you have the right amount of tools, and you can just go to the track and make a quick change and then just do it. My main concern with this is, like, you become familiar with your equipment. You have your torque specs handy, so it's like it's 45 pounds or 44 pounds for the sprocket nuts, and then 74 on the axle. So if you have handy, those are the only specs you need. Then in some cases people even remove the rear caliper. In my case, that was not the case. I had it, so I just used the picker just to keep the pads in place and all that. So it all worked out. So I mean, I did it with 15 minutes with a lot of room for improvement, but you can do it too. So the idea is just to show that it's possible. Just get familiar with your stuff. And my last thought is, when you are at the track, and when you're at the track, in my case, it's $40 every time I want to go to a test and tune. So if you think about it, I mean, $40 doesn't sound like a lot, but I want to go every weekend. So that will be like 100 and what, like 60 bucks a month. So if I only go and the track is so full that I can only make, I can even do hot laps because I have to stop for an hour. I might as well just make the best use of it. So I bring all the tools with me. And if I know that I'm not going to be making any other pass before the next hour, then at least I can just spend my time just like, doing the best I can, just so I be as ready as possible for my next one. If you're just on your best setup and you have no intentions of changing anything, then yeah, just go back to the line and then just wait. It's fine. But if you have multiple sprockets, or you have a couple different variations that you want to play with, then maybe I want a less of an aggressive setup. So when I'm doing my nitrous passes, then I can just go back to a different gear and I can just keep playing with that. So I don't know, it's fun for me. So I'm not sure if it's fun for you. Hopefully it is. This is just to show you it's possible, and something that I've done so many times that I feel I become so familiar with the process that just becomes second nature. And I used the jack at first the jack was not helping because it was not helping me. The tire was moving. So stuff that you always forget. So that if you keep practicing, you're just gonna get better and better. So I mean, hopefully this is good for you guys to see it. If you have any questions, just let me know. If you are changing, I guess one note is, if you're changing for a maybe going from like a 45 to a 48, and then your slack is gonna change, then you have to add a couple more minutes so you can spend more time adjusting your chain. So that's something that in my case, I was just going from a 40, I think it was from a 45 to a 46, and I already had a pretty decent amount of slack on my previous sprocket. So the change on the slack of my change was not gonna be that much. So I was not concerned with that. But so you have to allow more time, but I bet you can still do it in less than 20 minutes, which is the whole point. So hopefully you enjoy it. Leave me your comment. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy just to answer any questions. So thank you, and I hope you like this video.